Rhaegar said he's right, though. If fans are willing to pay above face value for tickets, then why not value your worth by increasing ticket prices? I agree with that to a certain extent. But the problem there becomes, let's look at the average Avenged Sevenfold fan. Do you think the average Avenged Sevenfold fan can comfortably afford to pay $300 tickets to go to a show? I guess my point here is that you have to take into account the situation of your fans. Sure, you could fill an arena with people that could afford $300. Absolutely. And I bet there would be people that would pay it, and I bet that it would sell out. But I saw friends of mine talk about how they went into debt getting tickets for like the When We Were Young festival and stuff like that. It's like, do you want to feel proud of the fact that you can charge $500 a ticket to your fans and they love you so much that they'll do whatever it takes to spend that money? Or do you want to make sure that like your fans are comfortable and happy and available to go to your shows? I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of Kid Rock, but I will say years ago, he did a fucking amazing thing where he did an arena tour where he struck a deal where like tickets were dirt fucking cheap.
I just want to say I did like Kid Rock when I was younger. Devil Without a Cause album was great. I don't care.
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed Cowboy. I was
about to say, I'm like, man, everyone hates Kid Rock, but I'm like,
I'll never forget though. There was a mean tweets where they had you ever watch mean tweets with Jimmy Kimmel, where they had Kid Rock come on and somebody said that he smelled like stale couch farts, and I was like, that seems so accurate to me.
Yeah, it's nostalgic for me. So like, I can go listen to Devil Without a Cause album. I love it. I don't care.
Rosie loves his Leonard Skinner ripoff.
Hey, it's catchy because Leonard Skinner wrote it.
I mean, he's a champion of the South, although he's from Michigan.
Seriously?
Michigan suburbs.
Yeah. Oh,
Go figure.
Hey,
well, we love Japan and we're from the U.S., so whatever.
I'm not a champion. I'm not like, never mind. Another conversation.
He even struck a deal with the beer vendors at the shows where beers were like $4. That is a dude that absolutely is thinking about like the lifestyle and the comfortability of his fans. How much did those tickets go for on StubHub? No fucking idea, but that's not the point. The point is that he fucking went out of his way to make sure ticket prices were low. It can be done.
Yeah, so they can do that to a certain extent, but it depends on what happens after the fact, honestly. Yeah. I mean, he can, like he said, that's besides the point. He did make sure the tickets were low, but who knows what the resale was on that.
Well, he was responding, though, to the lead singer of Avenged Sevenfold saying that you need to jack up your prices because of supply and demand. So basically, throw it all on the fans. Make them cover all the crap because you're so popular that you can do it, which is like, it's turning it into a classist thing. It's making... making your fans that are super hardcore fans but don't have much money go into debt and ruin their own lives because
like for baby metal
so much.
Well, but see, that's what you got in Japan, lottery system for these shows that they know a ton of people want to go to. They do lottery, which if you want to go, you may not be able to go, but then it doesn't allow this kind of thing to happen to where
exactly.
They can just fucking gouge everybody at the prices because they're the only place they can get it.
I hate to be, I don't know.
Be that guy, man.
I feel like, okay. So like, what M Shadows was saying, for example, right? I feel like we can't have it both ways. And like, what do we want? Do we want for these bands that we love to be able to make as much money as they can in the music industry and not have to struggle like as a band, because we've talked in the past about how hard it can be to like make it. Just if you're not one of the top fucking music groups out there, it's really hard to make it, So are we going to be upset that these bands are making as much money as they can just because Kid Rock one time didn't make as much money as he could? And are we then going to, how can we get mad at them for doing that and then also want to support their endeavors in trying to do that? And then to go even on top of that, you've got these super mega pop stars that are going to be making this much money. And if we want, like the rock bands or whatever to have as much credibility or as much, love in the mainstream and stuff like that, then wouldn't they have to try to equal what the mega pop stars are doing out there also?
I think you're maybe forgetting that the main topic was that there's one entity that's controlling where this is all coming from. It's not the bands are like, well, I'm so popular that I can charge whatever I want. It's they have to go through Live Nation.
It's because
so nobody has a choice whether they can go just see the band. So it's not the bands that are jacking everything up.
So is the argument that the bands have no say in how much their ticket prices cost? Because that doesn't seem right.
He's talking about what M Shadows said. That's why that came up.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm bringing that out.
M Shadows' response actually seems completely irrelevant to the actual problem. Now that you mention that,
yeah,
like it's almost like trying to distract you from the real problem.
Dude, I don't. Okay, so is it though? Because if we're saying that Ticketmaster is the reason that all the prices are going up so hardcore that we can't afford it and it becomes a classist thing in that situation, then we're also alleviating and taking all of the onus off of the bands and saying they have no ability to set prices for their events.
Are the bands getting that extra money?
But in the
because there's a base price. There's a base price. You buy the ticket, that goes to the band. But then once it's reselling, does any of that money go to the band?
No,
or is that all
it doesn't.
Just to the person that's selling the ticket and Ticketmaster?
No, it doesn't. Right. It does not go to the band. The band agrees on a base price, and that's what they get for the ticket. That's how that works with the selling.
Now, the dynamic pricing might be different. Like I know there's things where there's dynamic pricing. If there's more demand, the price goes up, and I think some of it does go to the artist. That's why it's so fucked up. It's not like,
but there's contracts.
Here's how much a ticket is. Now it's like all these variables that. Who the fuck's
not transparent.
But that's where it becomes an issue because there's contracts for this, right? And then Live Nation will be like, well, if you don't follow our contract, now you can't go play at half the venues in the U.S.
Yeah. So
that's
if a band doesn't want to gouge their fans, they're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. That's the issue is that they own everything.
So the contract would be like, for example, it would be like, let's say Avenged Sevenfold is going to play. They're going to give Ticketmaster, Live Nation, their base price. Ticketmaster is going to take that base price and then they're going to up it for the selling to the consumers by however much they've agreed with the band to sign that contract with, right?
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes in the contract, they'll say like they'll have stipulations in there that'll specifically say if there's a resale, this is how much percentage I get if it's on your platform or if it's in your venue. But the thing is, Ticketmaster can stronghold them and be like, well, we don't agree. That's the problem. So like how they can't even compromise with those contracts because they'll just be like, well, if you don't accept these terms, you're fucked because we own half the venues and you can't play at these shows. So that's why Ryan mentioned the big artists that said fuck Live Nation and try to do it on their own. That's why they did that because he couldn't get a favorable contract that was like fair for both parties.
I mean, back in the 90s, Pearl Jam tried to do that and they got fucked. They couldn't tour. They tried it and failed just because they could not support themselves because they were forced to go all these smaller places, which I understand your point. Like if you can they need to make money in order to survive. But like when tickets get sold and they get resold at a jacked up price, that's going back to fucking Ticketmaster.
Well, yeah. And that's
your band's not benefiting from that.
That's like the overall thing is that Ticketmaster has this control. They can literally make the band be in submission to them on every step of the way. If you're not going to cooperate on this particular deal, you can't play at this venue. You have to find somewhere else to play. And they own like a ton of the big venues that people want to play at. So like if they don't get the band to cooperate on every little nitpicky thing, which they're taking a cut of every monetary possibility along the way, they're keeping bands from playing at venues.
If you're not already a huge freaking successful star like Joe Bonamassa, he does his own thing. Like I mentioned last week, I think.
That's the
he
one.
He pays for the venue. He pays for security. He pays for all the merch and the distribution. But that's because he's a fucking superstar, man. So if you're trying to work your way up, you're screwed. You have to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a better idea of what the issue is now. After talking to you guys about it, it actually kind of reminds me of how the territories in wrestling worked back in the 80s, where there was this thing called the National Wrestling Association,